Our traveler, our voyager through life, knew now that faith is the most precious capital man can have, for it bestows on indigent man not some transient and ephemeral field or dwelling, but a palace, indeed an eternal kingdom as vast as the whole cosmos or the world itself. Faith also bestows on ephemeral man all he will need for life eternal, delivers from eternal annihilation wretched man who waits on the gallows for the arrival of fate, and opens to man an eternal treasury of everlasting felicity. The traveler then said to himself, "Onward. In order to gain a further degree from among the infinite degrees of faith, let us refer to the totality of the cosmos, and listen to what it says. We will then be able to perfect and illumine the lessons we have received from its components and parts." Looking through the broad and comprehensive telescope he had taken from the Quran, he saw the cosmos to be so meaningful and well ordered that it took on the shape of an embodied book of the Glorious One, an incarnate dominical Quran, a finely adorned palace of the eternally besought One, an orderly city of the Most Merciful. All the suras, verses, and words of that book of the universe, even its very letters, chapters, divisions, pages, and lines, through their constant meaningful effacement, and reaffirmation, their wise changes and alternations, gave unanimous expression to the existence and presence of one who has knowledge of all things, and power over all things as the author of the book, of a glorious inscriber and a perfect scribe seeing all things in all things and knowing the relationship of all things with all things. So to all the species and particles of the cosmos, all its inhabitants and contents, all that enters it and leaves it, all the providential changes and the wise processes of rejuvenation that occur in it, these proclaim in unison the existence and unity of an exalted craftsman, a peerless maker who sets to work with limitless power and infinite wisdom. The testimony of two great and vast truths, of a piece with the immensity of the cosmos, affirms this supreme witness of the cosmos. First truth. These are the truths of createdness and contingency, established with countless proofs by the gifted scholars of the principles of religion and the science of theology, as well as the sages of Islam. They said that since change and mutation are to be observed in the world, and all things, the world must be ephemeral and created, it cannot be uncreated. If it is created, then there must be a maker who created it. And if there is no cause to be found in the essence of a thing either for its being, or for its non-being, so that these two are equally possible, that thing cannot be necessary and eternal. It has further been proven with decisive arguments that it is not possible for things to create each other, since that would involve the absurd and false notion of causality and never-ending causal sequences. Hence the existence of a necessary existence becomes necessary, whose like cannot exist, whose similitude is impossible, all other than whom is contingent and created by him. Yes, the truth of createdness has permeated the whole of the cosmos, and many instances of it are visible to the eye, the rest can be seen only by the intellect. For in front of our eyes a whole world dies every autumn, and together with it die hundreds of thousands of different kinds of plants and small animals, each member of each species being like a small cosmos unto himself. It is, however, so orderly and disciplined a death that all things leave behind in their places seeds and eggs that in the spring shall be the means of resurrection and rebirth, miracles of mercy and wisdom, miracles of power and knowledge. They hand to the seeds and eggs their book of deeds and plan of action, entrusting them to the wisdom of the glorious preserver and under his protection, and only then do they die. In spring, the dead trees, roots and animals come to life again exactly as they were, thus providing hundreds of thousands of examples, specimens and proofs of the supreme resurrection. In the place of others, plants and animals resembling them exactly are brought into being and life, thus publishing the pages of the beings of the preceding spring, together with their deeds and functions, just like an advertisement. Thus they demonstrate one meaning of the verse, "When the pages are spread out." Quran 81-10. Then also, with respect to the whole, each autumn a great world dies, and each spring a fresh world comes into being. That death and creation proceed in so orderly a manner, and so many separate deaths and creations occur within them, in such orderly and regular fashion, that it is as if the world were a traveler's lodge where animate beings reside for a time, where traveling worlds and migrant realms come, fulfill their duties, and then go on their way. So there is apparent to all intellects, with the clarity of the sun, the necessary existence, infinite power and unending wisdom of a glorious being who creates and brings into being in this world vital realms and purposive universes, with perfect wisdom, knowledge, and equilibrium, with balance, order and regularity, and who then employs them for dominical purposes, divine aims and merciful goals, with full power and compassion. We leave to the Risale Nur and the books of the theologians the further discussion of matters related to createdness. As for contingence, it prevails over and surrounds all of the cosmos. For we see that all things, universal or particular, big or small, from God's throne down to the ground, from the atom to the planet, all are sent to the world with a particular essence, a specific form, a distinct identity, particular attributes, wise qualities, and beneficial organs. Now to bestow on that particular essence and quiddity its peculiarities, from amongst the infinite possibilities available, to clothe it in its specific, distinctive and appropriate form, from among the possibilities and probabilities that are as numerous as the forms that may be conceived, to distinguish that being with the identity suited to it, from among the possibilities as numerous as the other members of its species, to endow with special, suitable and beneficial attributes the created object that is formless and hesitant midst the possibilities and probabilities that are as numerous as the varieties of attribute and degree, to affix to that aimless creature, perplexed and distraught amidst the innumerable possibilities and probabilities that result from the infinitude of conceivable paths and modalities, to affix to it wise qualities and beneficial organs and equip it with them. All of these arc indications, proofs, and affirmations to the number of the innumerable possibilities of the necessary existence, infinite power and unlimited wisdom of the necessary existent who creates, chooses, specifies, and distinguishes the quiddity and identity, the form and shape, the attribute and situation of all contingent beings, whether they be universals or particulars. They indicate, too, that no object and no matter is hidden from him. That nothing is difficult for him, that the greatest task is as easy for him as the smallest, that he can create a spring as easily as a tree, and a tree as easily as a seed. All this, then, pertains to the truth of contingence, and forms one wing of the great testimony borne by the cosmos. Since the testimony of the cosmos, with its two wings and two truths, is fully established and explained in various parts of the Risale Nur, and particularly the 22nd and 32nd words, as well as the 20th and 33rd letters, we refer our readers to those writings, and cut short an extremely long story. Second truth. As for the second truth that proceeds from the total scheme of the cosmos, which is also the second wing of its great and universal testimony, it is as follows. There is to be seen a truth of cooperation among these beings that are attempting to maintain their existence, and if they are animate, their life, and fulfill their functions in the midst of constantly stirring changes and revolutions, a truth that lies far beyond their capacities. For example, the elements hasten to aid animate beings, the clouds to help the vegetable kingdom to help the animal kingdom to help the human kingdom. Milk gushes forth from the breast, like the spring of paradise, to succor the infant. The fact that animate beings are given their needs and sustenance in a manner that transcends their capacity, from unexpected places, the replenishing of the cells of the body with particles of food, through their being subjugated by their sustainer and their employment at his merciful hands, all of these and numerous other examples of the truth of cooperation demonstrate the universal and compassionate dominicality of the sustainer of all the worlds, who administers the cosmos like a palace. Solid, inanimate and unfeeling objects, that nonetheless cooperate with each other in a sensitive and conscious fashion, must of necessity be caused to rush to each other's aid by the power, mercy, and command of a compassionate, wise, and glorious sustainer. The universal cooperation visible throughout the cosmos, the comprehensive equilibrium and all-embracing preservation prevailing with the utmost regularity in all things, from the planets to the members, limbs and bodily particles of animate beings, the adorning whose pen ranges over the gilded face of the heavens, the decorated face of the earth, and the delicate faces of flowers, the ordering that prevails over all things, from the Milky Way and solar system down to fruits such as corn and pomegranates, the assigning of duties to all things, from the sun and the moon, the elements and the clouds, down to honey bees, all of these great truths offer a testimony of proportionate greatness, and their testimony forms the second wing of the testimony offered by the cosmos. Since the Risale Nur has established and clarified this great testimony, we will content ourselves here with this brief indication. In brief allusion to the lesson of faith learned by our traveler from the cosmos, we said in the 18th degree of the first station, "There is no God but God. The necessary existent, the like of whom cannot exist, other than whom all things are contingent, the one. The unique, to the necessity of whose existence in unity points the cosmos, the great book incarnate, the supreme Quran personified, the ornate and orderly palace, the splendid and well-arranged city, with all of its surahs, verses, letters, chapters, parts, pages, and lines, with the agreement of its fundaments, species, parts and particles, its inhabitants and contents, what enters it and what leaves it, with the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of createdness. Change and contingency, with the consensus of all scholars of the science of theology, with the testimony of the truth of the changing of its form and its contents, with wisdom and regularity, and the renewal of its letters and words with discipline and equilibrium, and with the testimony of the sublimity of the comprehensiveness of the truth of cooperation, mutual response and solidarity, reciprocal care, balance and preservatici, among all its beings, as is to be clearly observed.